Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Glenn, and today I am presenting on cloned animals, why they don't need labels. To begin, I would first like to talk about what a clone is. So, a definition by Dr. Larisa Rudenko is that clones are genetic copies of an animal. They're similar to identical twins, but born at different times. This is saying that they have the same exact genetic makeup, but they, unlike twins, did not come from the same mother. The picture to the right is a picture of Dolly the sheep, and that was the first animal cloned, and that happened back in 1996. Next, I'd like to talk about how animal cloning works. The official name for animal cloning, or the most well-used method, is somatic cell nuclear transfer. This is extremely similar to embryo cloning with humans. And to begin, the nucleus of the donor egg is removed. So the donor egg is just a ovum from any other female, and the nucleus is removed, so the genetic material of that cell is removed, and then the clone source DNA is injected into the donor egg, so the animal that you want to copy is put into the donor egg, and the egg divides until it becomes a multicellular clump, and then it forms into an embryo, and then that embryo is transplanted into a surrogate dam, or a surrogate mother, and then the embryo grows and is born as normal from a surrogate mother. So the birthing process for a cloned animal is the same as it is for all other animals. Now on to what are clones used for. According to the FDA, the main use of clones is to produce breeding stock, not food. What they're saying here is that on farms it's very expensive to try to selectively breed for great animals, and then it's very unfortunate when you lose the ability to continue breeding those great characteristics of that animal, such as high milk production or resistance to disease, into other animals. So they clone those animals and then breed them to other animals and then use their livestock for food, because the livestock will still contain the great genes that the cloned animal did. However, it is very expensive to clone an animal and then use it for food production, so that is an unrealistic use of cloning. Now, this slide, I just wanted to point out, can you tell the difference? And up in the upper left corner, we have a picture of two cows that were cloned, presumably for breeding purposes, and they look to be dairy cattle. And then the calves in the center picture have been cloned as well, also for the uses that I had mentioned previously. But the picture on the right with the German Shepherds I found to be very interesting, because the dog that these dogs were cloned from, his name was Tracker, and he was used at Ground Zero on September 11th to help find people that were lost in the rubble. And he was a great tracker, so they decided to clone this dog so that they could replicate his amazing tracking abilities. In January of 2008, the FDA approved that food from animal clones was safe to eat, and they put out 3 documents: the risk assessment, risk management plan, and a guidance for industry document that basically detailed all of the research, the 5-year study that went into the animal clones to determine that they were safe to eat, and then if anything went wrong, a management plan and also guidance for industry on the do's and don'ts with their clones and integrating them into the industry. The FDA refuses these labels, and in general, according to the Washington Post, the FDA has generally reserved mandatory labelings for things that present a real risk. For instance, in the past, the FDA has allowed voluntary labeling of substance-free products such as RBST-free milk, since it's distinguishable from conventional milk, and the only labels that they want to pass are labels that do not suggest that one product is more wholesome than another. In conclusion, the FDA was correct to refuse the labels. Since there's no safety risk, there are no labels needed, and labels can also imply quality differences and be used for scare tactics and propaganda, and it's extremely complicated to classify what a clone is and whether or not their offspring count, so it would be extremely expensive to label them and also just completely unnecessary.